we humans constantly strive to reinvent the automobile. From the petite Volkswagen Beetle and the agile Mini Cooper to the massive SUVs, every form emerges to fulfill a precise purpose. We crave a small vehicle that navigates narrow gaps effortlessly while offering an interior as roomy as a living space. We desire to transport the entire family plus heaps of baggage, yet cruise gracefully like a high-end sedan instead of jolting like a rugged pickup. The reality is, Detroit once engineered an ideal creation that met all those lofty expectations. It ruled the open highways as an emblem of affluence and the untamed American ethos. Then, inexplicably, we allowed it to fade away. Naturally, I'm referring to the station wagon, a neglected icon. Let's uncover what truly transpired. Traveling back to the dawn of the 20th century when cars remained a lavish indulgence, they resembled gleaming playthings for the elite, rather than everyday transport for the public. Still, beneath that glamorous facade, a fresh demand was brewing, a market shortfall no one had addressed. Americans journeyed between towns mostly by rail. The rail network formed the nation's core, but it revealed a glaring shortfall the instant travelers disembarked at the depot. The stretch from the station to the inn or residence wasn't far, yet frustrating enough to pose a real hassle. Cabs cost a fortune, were rare, and few could splurge on a private ride often. It was a minor void, but for an expanding country, it demanded a solution. And that solution was dubbed the station wagon. Its very name spelled out its role: station for the rail depot. Wagon for hauling freight and folks. Initially, station wagons weren't crafted in sleek design ateliers, but in modest carpentry workshops and bespoke fabricators. The chassis drew from light truck platforms, with the aft portion built from timber, a budget-friendly, workable substance well known to U.S. artisans then. These rides functioned with stark straightforwardness, ferrying riders and bags from the depot to the lodging, then looping back for the subsequent arrivals. The pivotal shift arrived in 1929. Ford spotted the promise in this category and took a daring leap. They launched the station wagon as an official offering on the celebrated Model A platform. That marked the instant it claimed the limelight, evolving from a bespoke oddity into a genuine production series. Ford grasped that this automobile wasn't merely handy, it could anchor a burgeoning sector. The timber exterior stayed functional and charmingly rustic in true American fashion. For countless buyers, it evoked the rural heartland, the farmlands, that unfiltered essence the urban sprawl was gradually eroding. As the 1930s dawned amid economic rebound from the New Deal, the station wagon refined its look. Gone was the rigid, blocky bulk atop a truck base. It grew sleeker, more streamlined. This period also birthed the Chevrolet carryall Suburban, a landmark in U.S. auto evolution. Not merely an oversized ride, but the inaugural template for today's SUV archetype. In construction, the carryall rode Chevrolet's light-duty truck frame, yet its shell mimicked a sedan. A fluid profile, tall ceiling, broad entryways, and crucially, a detachable back bench. An innovation the field hadn't imagined. Capable of seating 8 while swiftly morphing into vast storage, it pioneered versatility decades before multi-purpose hit the lexicon. The metal shell proved vital, tougher than lumber, simpler to upkeep, and enabling expansive glass and superior sightlines. The ideal vibe for the road excursions blooming in American life. Powering it was the inline-6 stove-bolt engine, a reliable workhorse famed for delivering ample low-end pull to manage loads, freight, and rough paths without fuss. By the 1940s, the landscape shifted dramatically. Post-World War II, leisure pursuits exploded. Folks yearned to venture into nature, pitch tents, launch epic drives they'd fantasized about amid the conflict. The station wagon, with its generous hold, proportional stance, and adaptable design emerged as the perfect partner, yet this time also signaled a materials overhaul. Wood exteriors, while picturesque and evocative, demanded endless upkeep, decay, twisting, endless sealing, and vulnerability to harm. In 1949, Plymouth led the charge to full steel construction, retaining timber solely for accents. That choice transformed more than aesthetics. It liberated the wagon from woody constraints, propelling it toward modernity, sturdier, neater, and primed for high-volume assembly. The 1950s ushered in the station wagon's pinnacle era. No longer tied to depots or sporadic outings, it embodied the blossoming American aspiration. Three elements propelled it to 1950s supremacy. First, booming affluence. War over, factories thrived, family earnings soared. Baby boomer parents required roomy haulers for kids, luggage, bikes, and suburban fantasies. The wagon's vast bay and adaptable benches made it the obvious pick. Second, road networks transformed. Eisenhower's Federal Aid Highway Act ushered in boundless interstates. No ride mastered those ribbons better than a lengthy, broad, steadfast station wagon, crafted for cross-state jaunts. Third, sheer utility. Those level folding rears, groundbreaking then, turned it into a do-it-all hauler. From merchants' deliveries to makeshift camper beds in Yosemite, it suited every pursuit. Shining brightest were legendary variants. The Mercury Colony Park, famed for its wood-grain siding tracing the flanks, a nod to woody heritage. Up front loomed a commanding grille, gleaming accents, and boxy lamps typical of 1960s-70s flair. The elongated hull, soaring roofline, and top rails evoked a terrestrial vessel geared for coast-to-coast quests. Expansive panes and slim posts granted breezy views families adored. Standout, the versatile tailgate dropping flat or hinging outward, a nuance embodying the Colony Park ethos, refined, graceful, yet cleverly attuned to daily demands. Then the Chevrolet Nomad, a wagon revered for its era. Bucking utilitarian norms, it boasted a dynamic, lithe silhouette infused with 1950s aviation zest. Signature traits, two-door layout, subtly raked canopy, and fine uprights yielding rare, slippery contours for a wagon. Wraparound glazing flooded the interior with light, while the shell radiated youthful verve, distinct from Pier's solemnity. A polished snout, hefty guard, and assertive sweeps lent hot rod swagger on wagon bones. Beneath lurked a tidy V8, granting the zip that era's young clans craved. The 1960s saw station wagons hit zenith in scale and luxury. Dubbed land yachts, consider the Chevrolet Kingswood, Ford Country Squire, Chrysler Town & Country, post-war behemoths seating 9, with holds devouring a household's worldly goods, and mighty V8s primed to surge at Dad's highway footfall. Styling veered bolder, faux timber panels, weaving the flanks infused suburban tranquility. In 1966, Ford unveiled a decade's cleverest gimmick, the magic door gate, a back portal flipping down like a tail or pivoting like a barn door. Wagons grew not just handier, but infused with genuine engineering wizardry. By the 1970s, Fishers cracked the station wagon's once invincible dominion. Over 2 stellar decades, it defined family motoring, yet then assaulted tides fiercer than any prior gale. First gale, the 1973 oil shock, with fuel costs exploding. V8 hearts, erstwhile badges of pride, turned liabilities. Citizens queued endlessly at pumps, a novelty. Those behemoths, prosperity's icons, drew wary glances for guzzling what the age couldn't spare. Concurrently, stringent safety and pollution rules hiked hurdles, required 5mm rear guards, beefier hulks, power plunges. Wagons shed grace for ponderous, stark profiles. Worse arrived with nimble hatches and thrifty imports like the Volkswagen Rabbit or Datsun 510. Lacking highway romance, They shone in affordability, economy, and sensibility, precisely what the public sought. The 1980s delivered the knockout, the minivan debut. Chrysler's 1984 Dodge Caravan and Plymouth Voyager redefined family conveyance. Front drive layouts maximized cabin room at lower cost. Boxier shells packed more inside same bounds. That gliding side portal? A game changer for toting toddlers. Minivans lacked brawn or grit, no V8 growl, but they screamed contemporary. To buyers then, fresh trumped all. Wagons morphed into bygones, charming antiques, passé. 1980s models rallied with cabin bells and whistles, yet couldn't match minivan utility. The 1990s unleashed the ultimate heir, the SUV. If minivans struck fatally, SUVs sealed the North American wagon's doom. Ford Explorer and Jeep Cherokee sparked the frenzy, peddling a fresh fantasy, ruggedness, poise, elevated perch, illusory security. They promised off-road conquests despite 99% pavement duty to the corner grocer. Wagons, linked to homemakers, grew dowdy amid shifting vibes. Folks chased might over utility, stature over humility, thus ousted, not for shortcomings, but misfit to the zeitgeist. By the 2000s, the verdict stood: wagons neared extinction stateside. Streets held mere echoes of glory, as youth favored cushy crossovers like Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V. Family soft rotor looks trendier than any wagon. Today, scanning U.S. avenues yields scant wagon outlines that packed 1960s lots. Yet it endures, evolved. This mirrors a half-century pivot in Yankee car ethos. Curiously, wagons thrive in Europe, where tight lanes, crammed villages, and pricey petrol sideline SUVs. Their planted stance, sharp dynamics, and ample holds suit bourgeois homes. In Germany, Sweden, France, they're no fossils, just astute picks. Stateside, they're boutique. Luxury holds like Mercedes E-Class wagon, Volvo V90, or Audi RS6 Avant, a rocket in wagon garb. These aren't soccer mom relics, they're flair. Uniqueness for savvy souls spurning SUV herds craving superior drives. Wagon demise partly stems from marketed myths, ads, press, empty vows insisting on AWD, lift, trail readiness, despite 99% asphalt lives. That allure antiqued the wagon, superior for routines. Lately, revival stirs, SUV-ish wagons, or soft rotors. Subaru Outback leads, wagon core and mild SUV skin. Clearance for reassurance, true to breed, poised, frugal, adept. Audi all-road, Volvo cross-country echo it, affirming wagon's slot when smartly adapted. In EV times, prospects brighten. Floor-mounted packs yield squat profiles sans nose-heavy mills, wagon ideals. No surprise Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo captivates. Supercar thrust, wagon sense, proving the form's tomorrow gleams. U.S. wagons may never reclaim 1960s throne, but revival's portal yawns. Should Ford resurrect country Squire retro style a la Bronco, wagons could repopulate roads, not ghosts, but renewed legends. Crave wagon fun now? Euro estates or JDM 1980s-90s relics, timeless utility, resilience, human-scale soul from Detroit's heyday etched in U.S. hearts. Drop a comment on your old wagon or dream ride. Smash like and subscribe to revive lost U.S. auto lore. Your every tap honors the station wagon, Detroit's fairest golden age token. Catch you soon.